Welcome back to Mind Your Business podcast.
Mind your business.
The host, TK.
The host, Millie. Just want to shout out Velvetone Studios for having us here. Really appreciate it. Mind Your Business podcast. This is something that me and Millie curated together so we can, put our...
Bounce some ideas off each other.
Exactly.
Anyways, let's get into business.
Yeah, let's get into it, man.
How was this last week at the, shop? Things changed. I've left the shop. Originally me and TK used to work together.
Right.
For the past almost a year now. I left recently. A couple things have moved around the shop. What's new?
The shop, the environment of the shop is really cool. I feel like it is kind of unnormal with you not being there. You know what I mean? Because I'm used to cracking jokes with you, but I feel like the flow of the shop is cool. Everybody's still doing their job.
It's been cool.
Yeah, it's been
quieter, huh?
A little quieter. I just crack jokes with my clients now. You know what I mean?
How's the guys there? Everyone's doing cool. All the new guys.
Yeah, all the new guys doing good. Still doing the one-on-ones with new barbers. At the college, and still having meetings each week.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So I see you've been posting on the, on your Instagram page. You've been doing what for this next month of June or July? You're doing free.
Yeah, next month of June, free one-on-ones for anyone who wants to learn how to cut hair.
Okay.
I have about like 15 leads right now. People who just want to learn. So I have a pretty busy month this month, but it's good.
So how are you coming across with that? I see, you posted last night you're at a park doing one-on-ones. Like, you just pull up where they're from or where they...
So I kind of make it to where it's like, okay, I know my daughter stays in a certain area, and then they have a barber school in that area, so I'm going to go to that area, go to the park with my daughter, teach them how to cut. It's a win-win. You know what I mean? And then... my sister, she goes to a college. A lot of people at her college campus like to cut hair, cut their friends or whatever. So I go to her college and I teach them, so it works.
Okay. So you're working inside the school right now, staying busy.
Right. Yeah, Inspire Barber College, helping a lot of students there,
So what's your main focus when you're there?
My main focus is really just, giving out as much knowledge as I possibly can. You know what I mean? I've been cutting hair for about 10 years now, since 2015. So... I feel like I have a lot more to give than to just be behind a chair cutting hair all day. You know what I mean? So I feel like I have a purpose-driven drive right now.
Well, okay, that's something I want to talk about today is, so you've been cutting hair 10 years. That's a long time in the industry. You've been, pretty much you hopped in the barber game kind of before it became a trend.
Right.
Every barber that got made in 2020, it all became a trend. Some made it. I think there's a bunch of great talent barbers that made it out of the industry during that time.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that hopped on it because it was cool. So what would you say, to the barbers kind of getting into the industry right now? That's kind of, because right now it's oversaturated. You can see how oversaturated it is with people that, I was watching, what's his name? Marty Blends, I think. On TikTok. I was joining his live stream, and he was talking about how when he went to barber school, that his teacher told him straight up on day one, only a handful of you guys are gonna make it in this industry. 10 years later, bro checked in with all his classmates, only like 2 or 3 made it out to 25.
Yeah.
So, something like you've been in the industry 10 years before it became a trend, everything like that. What would you say to the people trying to get into it now that, maybe barely starting, where it's very oversaturated? How can they stand out?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question, man, because when I started off, my mindset was making people look good, feel good. You know what I mean? Everything is energy. You know what I mean? So if you know how to, stay disciplined, stay focused with your craft, and then continue on with it and be successful by not only having a mindset and mentality of wanting to, better your haircuts, but better your overall experience while they're in the chair. I feel like a lot of barbers fail these days because they don't know how to retain their clients.
Yeah. As
far as like, just cutting good, But for any barbers that starting off right now, man, like I'll just say be authentically you, come in with a mindset of being a learner and a teacher at the same time, you know? And just be open to constructive criticism at all times.
I think one thing I'm teaching a lot of new guys I've been talking to, one recently, I've been chopping it up with him a lot, is you're not good right now. Obviously, when you're starting, you're not going to be good. everything you do is going to pretty much be like just, it's not going to be good. It's going to be all shit. You know what I mean? And one thing I told him, it's like, I did that. When I first started cutting hair, I wasn't blending hair really good at all. I was horrible at it. But I still cut most of those people to this day. Right. That was, I want to say like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I was cutting people, you know, in the shop when I didn't really know what I was doing. And they're still my clients to this day. And the way I did it wasn't about the haircut. It was about the experience, the conversation, what you do. So, you know, you talk about, oh, you need to, you know, you got to produce, you got to show them the level of quality. But to a beginner, I believe the main focus should be your service, how you treat them, how you talk to them, how you engage with them. Like,
right.
At the end of the day, a normal person is not going to really, unless you're a barber, you're not really going to be able to tell how clean the blend is. You know what I mean? Really, you got to have a barber eye. Right. Just make the blend decent enough and make the service even better for them to want to, like, feel like your boy and come back and kick in and talk.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly.
So, that, you know, that's one thing I always tell a lot of beginner people. I think that's the best way to look at it. Like, you know, eventually you're going to get good. Keep practicing, but also, I guess you can kind of say it's like a distraction. You know what I mean? Like, distract them from the bad blend with the great service, you know? I think that was one of the key points I thought about.
Yeah, no, most definitely. You know, whenever I think about this industry and, you know, the service, I always think about like a 5-star restaurant, right? You know, you go into a restaurant, you know, the customer service is always good. Maybe the food was cold when it came out, but because the customer service was so good, you know, it was so pleasing, you want to come back because of that. You know what I mean?
It's like a Denny's. Denny's kind of,
I don't know about that.
Food is kind of mid.
I don't know about that.
Okay, you've been to Denny's. You've been to Denny's.
I've been to Denny's.
So my experience at Denny's, food is not good.
All right.
It's good enough just to go real quick, cheap meal.
The only reason people
the
go
service
to Denny's,
is good.
They go to Denny's because it's open 24/7, bro. It's the
convenience.
convenience.
When you're there, you know, service is good. Where it's like, man, you got a good server, but food's kind of trash, but it's good enough.
Yeah. Unless she's super bad, it's like, yeah, you know, it's not like Ruth Chris. But, yeah, man. So like in this industry, you know, I believe that whoever really want to go out there and be the best version of themselves, you have to be able to go out and, oh yeah, I'm gonna just let you do your thing. But you have to go out there and just be able to, you know, be authentically you. You know what I mean? Because that's what people, they recognize. They recognize like, okay, this person is just coming in the shop. Like, and you have to think about it. Out of everybody that come in that shop, they're coming to you. So do above and beyond. You know, do the hot towel treatment, the facial. Especially if your handles are not that good yet. Yeah. You know, offer them water. You know, over deliver. You know, that's all it is.
I think the one thing I learned heavy about, you know, obviously the guy we work with, Junior.
Right.
When we started together, I started maybe a month before him. You know, me starting a month before him, I thought I thought I was ahead of the game. Started building clients before him, this and that. And it humbled me real quick when we got about 8 months into the game, and this dude was cutting 120, 140 a month, and I was cutting 90 to 100. And I thought it was kind of crazy. I'm like, bro, well, obviously I started before you. Why are you doing so much better?
Right.
And it wasn't about how good we cut. It was more how good he treated his clients. Me, I was so much about, I need the money. Okay, I don't care. I'm not doing a free hot towel shave. I'm not doing what?
Right.
I need my money. I need my $5. I need my $10. And the more I kept thinking like that, the more slower I got in the shop. And I noticed, you know, with him, he was getting busier because then he told me, he was like, bro, just do a free shave. Lock in these walk-ins. Just be like, hey, bro, like, I see you got some stubble. Let me just clean that up for you. Don't worry, no charge. Like, you know, over-deliver. He over-delivered so much where he got to 160 clients in like less than a year. And the moment I started doing that, legit the moment, I was averaging 70 heads for 3 months in a row. I was down bad. I was like, what's going on? Right. The moment I started doing that, the moment I gave my first hot towel for free.
Oh yeah, it's
and I started doing that, and I started going, and, you know, introducing more free stuff. Like for the fun of it, because you got to think about it, as a barber, a shave or even just an eyebrow cleanup only takes an extra 5 minutes.
That's it, bro.
What's extra 5 minutes to a lifetime client? So the moment I started doing that, I went from 70 clients 3 months later to my first 120. Then after that, me and Junior started going head to head, and me and him at one point hit 180 heads in a month.
Oh wow,
Like
that's a lot.
close to that. I want to say he got a little bit above that. I think he got a little bit above that, but we were both right there. So it's just showing the more you overdo, no matter how good your skill is, you know, because this is at the time when me and Junior are still learning all the new stuff we're learning from the other barbers, you know?
Right.
So it's not even like we have our skills fully developed yet. It's just more we over delivered, you know, and we're able to get to that 180 mark.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, bro. With me being new to the shop, you know, Sharp and Dapper, I realized that, you know, I have grew exponentially on the scale, and it was through customer service, right? And I remember it was this one client, he had came in. I'm first at the door, so I greet everybody every day, and he was like, you know, hey, does anybody have time today? And I was like, yeah, bro, you know, let me just ask the other barbers, see what they got. If not, I can get you in, right? So everybody was like, you know, I was booked. It was super busy. It was a Saturday.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I don't think no one has time today, but I can get you, right? And I was like, you know, I got about 15 more minutes with this client, and then I get right to you, gave him a fist pump, and then I went back to my chair, start cutting, finished up, cut him, talked to him, you know. And my 5 rules is asking about family, you know, what do you like to cook, where have you traveled, what type of TV shows you like, you know, things like that, just to get to know him a little bit more.
A whole pretty much hour-long conversation.
Exactly. And then he gave me $300. And I was like, bro, I was like, did you add another zero by accident? He was like, no, that's for you, bro. I want to get that to you because you wanted to serve me. And I was like, dang.
Yeah.
And that just, you know, it just kind of stuck with me. I was like, you know, I'm gonna stick with this.
I think that's been my main thing. Like what I tell a lot of people is, and that's what I had to learn the hard way myself, was I worked with a lot of barbers in the past where they were like, they seen somebody and they're like, either the haircut's too hard or they look like they're the type of client they don't want to cut or too picky. Like they're like, nah, I don't want to take it. I'm cool. I got an appointment coming, when they really don't. You know what I mean? And it's like I learned getting them in the chair first and talking to them is the best way to start. And if you really feel like they tell you something like, you know, you feel like you don't feel that confident, then that's when you break away. But don't shoot down your shot first.
Right.
Take the chance. If you didn't take the chance on that walk-in, you wouldn't have got paid $300.
Man, and walk-ins is really where the money is at.
That's what I'm saying. And you're growing. I've seen you. When you first started, you came straight from Oakland, no clients.
Right.
Only cutting your dad and your cousin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You weren't really cutting nobody, and I seen you every single day. Footwork, you know, let's talk about this. You know, this is your big thing, guerrilla marketing. What is guerrilla marketing to you? What is because this is your main focus in your next chapter of life right now is guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, well, what I love about guerrilla marketing is, you know, you're essentially leaving social media out of the picture. You're doing everything hands on. You're handing out business cards. You know, you're going above and beyond to, like, you want to touch about 40 people a day.
You're going real old school now.
Old school, yeah.
No social media. And let's talk about the binder you bring. I see you walk in with the binder one day. Right. And instead of showing people your Instagram, you're showing people printed out copies of before and after cuts. Yeah. Stuff you never see. This is stuff you see back in 2010 on the wall of let me get number 1, number 2. You know what I mean? And you're showing them in person like, hey, this is what I do.
Well, I'm going to be real. You know, I'm a black male, and, you know, there's a lot of, you know, different diversity of cultures out here in the Stockton area. So when they see me, they like, you probably can cut, but you can't cut my type of hair. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, I can, and I can probably do better than your barber. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's why I like to have that. And, you know, if your phone is dead, you don't have your business cards on hand, I always carry around my binder with me whenever I'm doing some type of guerrilla marketing. Yeah. You know?
So guerrilla marketing is all pretty much about just getting out there, putting the footwork in, passing out. Because I know minimum you were telling me you pass out 40 a day. Yeah. How many, off that 40 a day, how much do you think you retain daily?
So from now, the 40 a days that I did for the last 2 months, I mean, I feel like I got about 100 clients out of that. You know what I mean? And that was just like me going like, so, you know, I did Eventbrite. You know, I was going to free mixers. Also, I joined the Chamber of Commerce. I was with other businesses that were, you know, who are entrepreneurs. Also went to high school, colleges, talked to the football teams, basketball teams. Yeah. And I was really just kind of getting grounded in the Stockton area.
Stuff that people never think about. I feel like everyone I talk to, no one's ever went up to a high school or talked to the football coaches or try to work inside. They always just, I think every barber I know either walks around outside their shop to pass out cards, or they walk around, once in a while if they're out and about, they're like, here's my card. But you physically put yourself out there and find the locations, you stand out, or you go and talk to the whole crowd of people,
Right. And I just feel like it helps you overall as an entrepreneur be more vocal, because as an entrepreneur, you have to have a voice, and when people see you, they're already judging you, you know what I mean? So, I'm just standing for something, and I want to teach people that, hey, you're important. You know what I mean? I see you. You know what I mean? You're not just, okay, just because your skill set isn't there yet doesn't mean you're still not a human being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Try harder.
So you would say now at this point, with all the guerrilla marketing you've been doing, because you tried it firsthand. It's not that you just made this up and you don't know if it worked. You've done it. It works.
Right.
You can testify. You said 100 a month. How much do you think you're averaging a month now? Clients.
Clients. I want to say monthly about 150 to 180.
Okay, so being around that, because I've done that before. I've done that multiple months in a row. You know what I mean?
Right.
And part of that, it comes with burnout.
Yes.
I remember being in the shop from Tuesday to Sunday, having Monday off, and even Monday was barely a day off because that's the day me and my girl would go grocery shopping, do something as a family for the day, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, burnout's a major thing in this industry, and I've been through it a couple times. I'm pretty sure you've been in this industry 10 years. I'm sure you've died and went back and forth on plenty of things. So what would you say hitting that 150, 180 continuously, like what motivates you, what keeps you in line of, staying locked in and not getting, so distracted?
Well, I chose to, not do the 9 to 5, the easy route, right? So I have to work a lot harder. We have to work a lot harder than the people, who took the 9 to 5s. You know what I mean? And I made a choice and said, you know what, I'm going to go out, and if I have to hit 10 hits a day, that's what I have to do. I have to be in there early, leave late. You know what I mean? Also, how I brand myself in not just the service, but how I can add more value to the service where it can be more money. You know what I mean? So like adding $100 services and things of that nature.
Spider.
That's good luck. That's good luck. That's good luck. That's good luck, man. Yeah. So with that being said, I feel like the mentality is really it's all in your routine. Right? If you have a routine of like, okay, waking up super early, working out, eating a nice meal in the morning, and then so you don't get fatigued later on in the day, doing that day in, day out, 6 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week, you'll be good, But it starts with your routine. It starts with balance, and balance as an entrepreneur, the success route is a swiggly line. You know what I mean? So, because
pretty much you go from, I seen this, this clip or something on TikTok was, you're pretty much going from 9 to 5 to 24/7 because you're pretty much on call all day. And you're not physically on call. It's not like you got to do a cut at 3 a.m., but really you get texts and calls. You get everything at any time. You always got to be on your phone. And I noticed that's like something that comes with the job, Like I feel like I'm always on my phone, and so it's kind of 24/7 job.
It is.
And so it's something that even when you're out of the shop, you're still working. And I think, you're right. Routine and knowing balance. You know what I mean? And a lot of my clients, they respect it and they know where when I'm home, I just stay off my phone now. You know what I mean? Because that's how I feel like you don't get overburnt. When you burn out like that, it's because you're constantly working. So when you get home, one thing I would say to a lot of barbers that are going through it is more disconnect. You got a booking link for a reason. If you got a booking link, let your clients know, like, hey, when I'm home, I might not text you. I put my phone down and enjoy time with my family. Because if I'm texting you and I'm worrying about work, I'm most likely not going to want to keep working. You know what I mean? So, having a booking link is always perfect to have. So, your clients can just book whenever. It helps out for sure. I think getting burnt out, it's major. I've been through it plenty of times. And, it's something I question a lot about. Like, man, why do I feel so burnt out? I should be lucky. Like, and that's one thing I struggle with. Like, I'm lucky. Like, the amount of money we make cutting hair, and sometimes I take it for granted. You know what I mean? And I think it's just burning out. So what I like to do when I burn out, it's like, not even when I burn out, but when I feel that feeling like I'm like overdoing it, I like to just take like, I'll take 2 days off, 3 days off, and just pretty much disconnect. Put my phones aside, don't answer. And, like I agree with your routine. That's a daily habit. But when you're feeling that feeling like, I can't do this, like it's too much, take 3 days off. I did that one time. I took a vacation. I went to Mexico with my girl because I was like, man, this is too much. I've been just nonstop cutting. This is when, just nonstop. So I took a vacation, 5 days. By the 4th day, my girl seen me kind of like messing with my like menus at the restaurant, like pretending like I'm drawing little designs because we're on like I think a Disney cruise, so they give you like crayons. It's like a kid cruise, So they give us, it's like you get the kid menu, draw whatever. So she would see me drawing like designs and stuff. She's like, "You miss going to work?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I really needed this break."
Right.
So I think understanding you work hard, you deserve a break. That's one thing I've been told. When I was working in Galt, the owner there, he used to tell me all the time, like, man, you work hard. You deserve a break.
Right.
You got to understand, if you're putting in those hours, those days, you need to understand that you need to take a break. You know what I mean?
Well, so let's talk about it, right? So you're in a new studio. You have your own work area.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that you're realizing now being outside of the shop?
I think disconnecting from shop. I mean, I've been in the shop for a while now. I mean, I started full on cutting hair in the shop 2020. Before that, like 2018, I was always apprenticing at one.
Mm-hmm.
And, I love being in the shop. You make good friends. You make good memories. Like, it's a good time. But finally being in my studio, I think I found a sense of peace. Mm. And it's from outside distractions. I think I get distracted too much. So having a studio now, it's like I'm not distracted. I'm so locked in now. Like you said, I was able to make a routine now. So now every day I wake up, I do the same thing, routine, go in, and being in my own studio, I feel like a sense of, I got a lot of free time, I feel like. Even though I'm still cutting the same amount, but I feel like I structure my day as much as I want, where in the middle of the day, I'm like, you know what, let me take a 3-hour gap. Right. Let me go hit the gym. You know what I mean? So I feel a sense of freedom, finding myself in it, like, it's a lot of self-help, I feel like, being by myself.
Okay. So with that being said, what's the next steps that you feel like you need to take forward? You know what I mean? Like in this industry, like, having your own set schedule, like are you trying to go bigger? Like you trying to expand more?
My thing is I want to cut less. I do want to cut less. Like I love cutting hair, but it's like, doing it for a while now. I mean, I'm not saying I've been doing this for long. I mean, you got about a decade of experience. I'm about... from the moment I started picking up clippers, it's been about 8 years now, Yeah. And I don't know. I just don't feel like, every barber has their own route. One wants to be an owner. One wants to be an educator. One wants to do everything. I just know in my way of being a barber, I know I'm not meant to cut behind a chair forever.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's okay. Some barbers, I want to say that. A lot of barbers, if you realize from early or later on, you're not supposed to be behind a chair, that's okay, but what do you do to get out of that? That's what you need to figure out. And that's what I'm figuring out right now. I just realized I want to keep cutting hair forever. I don't want to do it 5 days a week. I don't even want to do it 4 days a week. I want to do it 3 days a week. I think that'd be cool. Mm-hmm. Definitely, I think that's my going away time. Like escape from reality, come to the shop, cut hair, talk to people, hear about their lives and their day. I love it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, for me to achieve that, I would say is this: marketing, talking to you, podcasts, content creating.
$200 services.
Yeah, $200 services. But just breaking away, just doing stuff like this, finding stuff that's fun to do, and you never know, see what opportunities might pop up from doing this. I mean, this is the first one we're ever doing.
Right.
I'm not saying something's gonna pop up, but what hurts to not try?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? We're trying it.
Yeah, and that's why I like to name like mind your business, because it's not like mind your business. It's like really put your mind in your business.
Mind your fucking business, bro.
Yeah. But like, with that being said, like put your mind in your business. How can you expand it?
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Ooh, I didn't know that's what you meant by it.
Exactly. Like mind.
I thought this podcast didn't mind your business. Like click out this video. You don't need to mind.
Nah, man. It's like put your mind in your business.
Ooh, I didn't think about that. That is kind of.
It's a double entendre.
Yeah, that word.
Yeah. So with that being said, man, like, the month of July. You know what I mean? Like, how are you gonna move in the month of July?
Month of July, I think that's when, I'm trying to make more opportunities appear, and that's I definitely think starting July, talking to people, I think I am going to start taking Tuesdays out of my book.
Okay.
So I do want to go. I think I'm going to go 4 days, but with those days I'm taking off, I'm taking more advantage.
Right.
So that's why I'm getting really things a lot done. And a lot of things I'm doing now that's not outside the shop is more self-improvement.
Yeah.
I'm working on my diet. I'm working on working out. Like, I've always been a little heavier set. You know what I mean? So, with me doing this move is in July, I'm really focused on working out, self-improvement. I think I need to work on myself before I work on the business, because I understand that me not improving myself is affecting the business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it's energy. It's energy.
Because people feel it. People understand. Like, people just know, like, when I come in the shop and, like, I've been eating, like, shit all day. I don't work out. I don't, they feel the sloppiness. Like, I was just talking to my boy the other day, and he's like, bro, when you talk, I can just hear you breathe all the time. And so it kind of affects me. It's just like, man, I need to get right with myself before I even move on with my future. You know what I mean? But I think self-improvement's the big thing. Mentally, getting my mental right, getting my physical self right. And that's where I'm moving forward. And that's why I made the move as a studio, because now it's like studio kind of makes you focus on yourself, like I said. You know what I mean? And it's not just about business. It's about more than business. It's more about how to improve yourself as a person. And I feel like as a person, I'm doing a lot better now.
That's good.
You know what I mean? I feel like I'm my true self. Because I feel like in a shop, it's not like you got to fake it, but it's like you kind of got to people please in a way. Because you got to, we had this discussion working at the shop. It's like sometimes we have disagreements on music. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's kind of some troublesome. Like, we always got something going on. We always got to kind of please each other. But when I'm in the studio, I kind of get to be selfish.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like now, like sometimes I put on worship music because sometimes I feel like, I need some God up in the studio. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Or sometimes I play a little slower music. Like, it's not always like, and I don't have to check in with nobody. I just get to be me now. I get to do what I want. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I guess it's, being in a studio, you kind of get to be selfish.
Yeah.
And it feels better because you get to, you do what you want. You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right. With that being said, I was just going to bring that up. Like, I know you've been doing a lot of worshiping, you know what I mean, and going to church and everything. How has that, like, altered your routine and, your relationships?
So getting closer with God, I definitely believe this is something that's been, working within me for the last, like, 9 months. If you asked me 10 months ago, I probably would be like, church, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, getting into more in the last 9 months, what it's opened my eyes to is life is not about the money.
Right.
Money helps. Money definitely helps. But I understand, like, I was so money driven. I was so cutting 180 heads because I want to make 8 to 9K a month. Yes, making 8 to 9K a month is amazing. It is. But what it was doing to me spiritually and mentally was not who I wanted to be. You know what I mean? And it's something I'm willing to give up, because I understand that being less about the money has brought me closer to my family, has brought me more joy, more time being at home. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I gave it up. I don't want to cut 180. You know what I mean? I want to cut 100, 120.
Right.
So at least I'm only at the shop for a few hours, a couple of days out of the week, and I get to come home and enjoy time with my family. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, finding a sense in, understanding the Bible and stuff, like, it shows you it's to be more happier and show more love than it is to be money driven,
Most definitely, man.
I mean? And that's one thing I like about us. Like, you have that in common. Like, you're very more about the word. You like to dive into the word. We always have these conversations once in a while. And I know you practice different things, and I like how you like that. You like to, you want to get educated before you can say, you go to Bible study, you teach yourself every day. It's always about learning something new. And, how do you think that affects your business?
Well, I feel like, it's just all about understanding who you are, you know what I mean, in the season, right? And, seasons change, emotions change. you have different circumstances that come, and it's how you combat that in that moment, like how you respond to certain things, right? And it's like, okay, you're going to combat it with anger, or you're going to combat it with compassion. You know what I mean? And just understand that everyone's a human being, you know. So that's why I really love, like, you know, worshiping, you know, and praise, because it relies on faith. You know what I mean? Faith is huge, especially in this industry that we're in, right? Because
faith is huge, because, I mean, going through a lot of tough moments as a barber, you're going to have your slow seasons. Right. You got to have faith that you're going to make it out of it. I think faith is the biggest thing. Like, especially what I'm doing now is when I ventured off to my own studio now, I don't know what to expect. Right. But me having faith in, you know, and understanding that it's going to work out. Because the more I've been getting into the word, the more I realize my life is already planned. It's already written out. All I have to do, you know, God is telling me to do is live it. Right. Just live your life, and I'm going to just bring you along. So that's kind of how I've been going about it. It's like, I'm not worried about, this week's slow. I'm not making money. Or sometimes like, man, I'm making a lot of money. You know what I mean? I'm not worried as long as you have faith, because you got to understand your life's already written out. Your life's already made. Right. You just got to just go on go mode. You just got to let it happen. Let life take its course.
For those who don't know, read Hebrews 11:1. Just read that one time.
Hebrews 11:1.
Hebrews 11:1.
Okay, explain yourself. I've never
well, that's
read
just it's the substance of faith, right?
Substance of faith,
Once you look it up, you'll be like, okay, I understand now, and just come back to this, right? So with that being said, man, I do recall you talking about, like, you know, you're being a family man. You know what I mean? Like, does that drive you more, being a family man?
I believe so. I think so. Like, I definitely move a lot differently now that I'm a dad, you know? Yeah. I became a dad at a young age. And I was blessed enough that I had the mindset of I have to work. Yeah. I've been working in a barbershop since the age of 17, 16, you know? So I've started my career young. So when I had a kid at 19, 18, it's not the ideal age. I mean, anyone could testify with that. Nobody wants to have a kid so young, but I was blessed enough to have one. You know, I'm happy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm blessed that God put me in the situation where, hey, yeah, I'm giving you a child so young, but look at what I've also given you. I've given you this amazing career that you can take with you and be a part of your kid's life. And barbering has, it's allowed me to do that. I'm home every night.
That's a huge pro. It's like, okay, I don't have to be at work from 9 to 5. I can, like, okay, if I need to pick my kid up from school, I can do that, come back to work. You know what I mean? If I want to, you know, take a nap, come back to work. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a lot of pros.
You know, you're a part of your kid's life. You make life so much simpler. And, you know, I've noticed that even you bring your daughter to the shop. So you can even bring your kid to the shop. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, no matter what, this career, it worked out for me. Like, I was blessed enough where I made the choice. I had a kid, and luckily I'm able to bring him along with it without having to struggle as much as I know a lot of people my age would have. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I'm just saying, like, I think, you know, family's a big driving factor. You know, the things I do is for him, you know, or for my girl, you know, because at this point in our lives, we have created our own family. So my main focus is her and my kid. Everyone else, my family, I love, and I try to, you know, work as much as I can to get close to them and do things with them. But I got to make sure I take care of them too first, rather than that. And I would say a big part of that is having a good support factor. Right. I think having a great support factor. I mean, you know, luckily I have my girl every day. She definitely helps support everything. When time was rough, when I was not making that much money at the shop, because when I switched from working in Galt to Stockton, I didn't have no clientele. Right. Luckily, you got to have a good support factor. You know what I mean? Getting into this industry, you got to have a good support factor, especially if you're getting into it at a later age. You know, so I had her back me up for a while, and now that I'm doing good, I'm able to repay her. Right. Such as you, I'm pretty sure you got a pretty good support factor. I mean, you came to Stockton, and you had your mom and dad right there, you know, willing to bring you in, help you out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So how would you say, like, having a support like that from your mom and dad?
Well, I want to say, like, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Pops. You know what I mean? Because I really came out here on the strength of, like, you know, wanting to help my dad after his surgery. He had, spinal surgery. So I was like, it makes sense to come out here and, help around the house, help with my mom. And I stay in Oakland, so that commute every day would have been kind of tarnishing to me, So I was like, you know what? Let me just make this leap of faith and see what happens. I left all my clients out in the Bay Area, and I started over. And, the support for, the family was always there. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have that, you can just get it from God. You know what I mean? Like, ask God to, lead your steps. You know what I mean? Have discernment. But also another thing too is like just making sure that once you leave something, that you have something to fall back on too. You don't ever want to leave something and not have nothing. You know what I mean? So
that's why I tell a lot of like new barbers now. It's like, it's definitely hard now. I want to say it's hard for a lot of new barbers, and I'm straight up with them. It's hard. You got to want this. The hustle you need to have for barbering right now, you got to want it, because guess what? It's expensive to live right now.
Yeah, it is.
Anything you do. I went to the grocery store, dozen eggs, $13. But you go to Costco, I ain't gonna lie, $15 for 5 dozen. I mean, but if you don't got a Costco card. But I'm just saying, like, life's a little hard right now. I mean, 1-bedroom apartment is $1,200. So it's like, when I talk to people that want to become barbers and they're not living with mom and dad no more, I tell them, like, hey, man, I'll be honest with you, keep that job.
Yeah.
But keep that job, but find an hours. This is what I tell all of them. Keep that job, but work, and this is where that hustle is going to come in. Work from 4 a.m. to 11, and then go straight into the shop at 12.
Right.
12, because you got to think about it. After 12 o'clock, it's peak hours. Everyone's out of school. Everyone's out of work. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's doable for people to really, hustle and get out there. It's just, life is hard right now. So until you can really make barbering your full-time job, I recommend, hey, man, work that job in the morning. Get your clients up. The moment you got your clients up and you can pay booth rent and your bills, even if you got to go check the check, hey, that's when it's time to go in from there.
Right.
I think the moment you go and check for check just off of barbering, that's the moment to dive in. Forget that 6 a.m. job. Now work the morning shift. Now you got morning all the way. So you're going 9 to 7 o'clock at night in the shop. Right. You know what I mean? That's when the profit starts coming in. But I mean, that's I like to tell it to a lot of new barbers now that don't have a good support system, or they might have a support system. It's just being on your own. It's tough right now. And another thing for new barbers, getting into the industry is talking about, one thing they struggle with is commissioner booth rent, and that's one thing where, what do you think? What would a new barber right now? What makes it? Let's hear the pros of being on commission and booth rent, and why is it good and why is it bad?
So the pros, I'm going to start off with commission first, right? So the pros of being on commission is good for you because if you're new to the area, you're able to, like, okay, if it's like 60-40, you're able to make, like, out of that 40, you're like, what, $30 or whatever. So it's cool for that, you know what I mean? And it's also good for the business owner. But sometimes people, they get stuck on the commission, they get super comfortable, and it just kind of like deflates their hustle, right? So when you get on booth rent, it kind of increases your hustle because, like, okay, this is a set amount that I have to make per week, per month. You know what I mean? If it's $1,200, I have to be in the shop, I have to rotate these clients out, I have to be punctual as possible. You know what I mean?
Cause you gotta think about the owner don't care. He just needs his money at the day. If you're on booth rent and you signed a contract, you gotta live up to that contract. You gotta pay that booth rent, because that was my main thing. I knew when I came to Stockton, I knew I didn't have it. I told the owner, it's funny. I told him, he was like, you're coming with the clientele rate. Not, he's like, as somewhat of a clientele. I was like, hell yeah. Because I just wanted that spot. I just wanted to be in there, I was like, it's like being at an interview. Sometimes you lie a little. Right. So I told him that, man, when I walked in there, I understood why I needed clientele. Because then I found out, he told me the booth rent and everything. And I was just like, he gave me the option. He was like, let's go on commission. You can take your time, build your clientele, or here's your booth rent. And, he gave me like an option. Like, it was $800 first month, $900, $1,100. And $1,100 is full on. And so I told him, I was like, I need booth rent. And deep down, I said booth rent because I knew if he gave me commission, I'd get comfortable, like you said.
Right.
I knew I'd be like, why do I got to go in? I got no appointments. And plus, if I have no appointments, I don't owe you nothing. But because
Right.
I owed them 1100 ain't cheap. That's decent booth rent. You know what I mean? I mean, the area, we're blessed for the area. The area is a good area to high walk-ins, definitely higher class clientele. You know what I mean? But you know, I had to come up with 1100, and not just that. When I moved to Sharp and Dapper, I had what we say grown man bills. You know, I had rent to pay for a home. I had utilities. I had car payment. I had insurance. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, I got to make 1100 and make my bills. So I think that brought out more of a hustle in me. And that's why I tell a lot of barbers, I tell a lot of new barbers, don't do commission. Because I know a lot of new barbers now are going to get too comfortable and they think either the shop needs to give me everything, and if not, I'm going to just be at home.
Right.
Like, no, booth rent's going to teach you. You need to get it on your own. The shop doesn't provide for you. And that's the one thing I've been told day one when I worked in Galt. The owner told me straight up. He's like, I'm not here to provide for you. My shop is not here to provide for you. Yeah, if you get lucky and you get a couple of the walk-ins, he was like, I built this to get walk-ins. He was like, so you guys are going to reap the benefits, but it's your job to keep someone in that chair. Right. It's your job to pay that booth rent. So that kind of stuck with me. It's like, man, this is my job. I need to pay that booth rent. My owner, you know, the owner needs this.
For sure. For sure.
So it definitely brings out a different hustle in you.
Yeah, I want to say, like, you know, like me starting off, every shop that I went to, I was like, yeah, I'm going to just take the booth rent. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because, you know, being from Oakland, you know, you realize you have to have multiple hustles, not just cutting hair. Mm-hmm. You're going to either, you know, sell some clothes, you're going to sell some something else, you know what I mean? But it's just, you got to sell, you know what I mean? You got to get it. And at the end of the day, I've just been taught and raised that, you know, nothing in life comes for free. You know what I mean? You have to work for anything, and you have to work hard for it. You know what I mean? And it's just principles that you have to live by day to day. I want to also bring to light, you know, you're doing a great job, bro. You know what I mean? From when I first got to the shop, you know, I remember you just see me outside sweating profusely. It was in the summer. Yeah. And I'm just handing out cars and you join me, and I really appreciate that. I knew then that I was like, man, this guy's kind of different. You know what I mean? Like,
and we walked up and down March Lane.
Yeah, man, I'm hitting fire
station. Like trying to go inside the firehouse and talk to the guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, we definitely got a lot to talk about, and we're happy to share. That is our goal. Is we're happy to share.
Everything is seasonal, right, bro? Yeah. Like, it's like each month you should have a goal set. You know what I mean? Like, from the beginning of the month to the end of the month, and if you don't achieve it, okay, I can carry it into next month's goals. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's our goal. And my goal was, right, you know, curating enough people that I can help become better barbers, right? So that's this month. I'm working on that, and then next month is going to be the tour, and then the month after that, you know, we're going to figure something, keep the podcast going, you know. So it's like staying consistent, you know, and showing people. I
think, you know, this is episode 1 of the podcast, and I feel like this would be great for us to do. There's more gems we could throw out there, you know. And what we would like to do is, yes, we're on here. We're going to start talking a lot more about getting more in depth about the industry, or about more about our lives, you know, about what kind of motivates us. We're going to get deep into a lot of things. And, you know, I would like to just, you know, our classes, the store we're going to do, it's a great way to get one-on-one, face-to-face, ask real questions, you know, get personal if you want to. Like, that's our job. We're therapists. You know what I mean?
Ask all the questions you want. I don't care if you think it's stupid, ask it.
If you're scared, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of barbers, they're new, they get scared, and a lot of them, you know, we're here to answer questions. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like, you know, in the past, you know, I've been doing 8 years, you've been doing 10 years. You know, we definitely got a lot of knowledge. We've also done we made a lot of mistakes. And that's what I tell a lot of new barbers. I'm here to teach you because I've done it. I've, you know, in the shop, you know, we're, you know, at Sharp and Dapper when I was at, you know, a big thing was trying to get guys on to coming to the shop, even when it's slow. You know, like, even when it's slow, show up. You got to show up. And that's something I learned when I was at my first shop. I used to not show up. I used to show up maybe 2 hours every day. Yeah. If that. Maybe two hours every day for only 3 days a week. Then the owner had to get on me. He was just like, why are you here paying me rent if you're not going to show up? Right. He was like, that's a waste of your money. He was like, I don't care. I'm getting paid. But you got to think about it. It's a waste of your money. Like, why are you here? And it hit me. It's like, man, I got to start showing up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, the hustle a lot of new guys are not having. It's something, you know, we got to teach.
Yeah, it's something because it's like, you know, it's not an L, it's a lesson. You learned that lesson. I had to learn that lesson. I remember, you know, working next to Yusuf Wright, you know what I mean? He cut his Steph Curry hair.
Yeah.
And he had a demand for his shop. And I remember days I wasn't meeting that demand, and I was like, man, you tripping. But he wasn't tripping. He seen something that I wasn't seeing. You know what I mean? Because there's levels in this game. There's levels to, you know, cutting hair, music, tattooing, and being an entrepreneur. You know?
People are here to teach it. You just gotta be willing to listen. I know I was getting kind of sidetracked off of that what I was talking about, but yeah, mistakes. We've done it. We've done a lot of it, like you just said. So I mean, we're here to kind of get you past that, not make the same mistakes. So we're telling you straight up from our personal lives, like we've done it and it doesn't work, so we're gonna teach you how to do it the right way. And I think to kind of steer the conversation in a different manner, it's you know, we talked about the barbering, we talked about everything we got coming up, but we also got to talk about, you know, we have a life outside of this. Right. You know what I mean? You're a father too. You got how old's your daughter?
She's turning 8.
And you got what, a 2-year-old son, 3-year-old son?
Yep.
Man, so what would you know, you're a father now, like, you know, you cut hair, you're a father, you got a personal life. Like, one question I do want to ask you that I've seen recently on Instagram is, what is father? And I thought this was a good question. Right. It made me really think, because being a father
I'm interested to know. What's the question?
You know, being a father has definitely changed my mindset in a lot of things. And the question is, what does fatherhood mean to you?
Selflessness, sacrifice, and dependency. You know, you always want to make sure that your kids know that you love them, you know, and every step of the way. You know, being a father is it's a blessing. You know what I mean? It's a blessing to see your seed and see yourself inside your child. And it's like, okay, you're going to hit your head sometimes, but I'm here to help you along the way so you don't hit it too hard. You know what I mean? And that's where really my hustle and motivation strives from, you know, my children, and also just making sure that, you know, that they know that I'm here, you know, and that they know that this village is going to protect them, you know. So,
and how would you say, like, and the only reason I'm asking these questions is because obviously we got lives outside the shop. Right. And it's a good thing to understand we're all the same. We all have something going on outside the shop. Right. And a lot of barbers, you know, they might feel alone in this and they might feel this and that. But, you know, and one thing I can say about a lot of barbers, we're all dads. Yep. You know what I mean? And that's why I asked you this question. And I want to also understand, it's like, I see, you know, how much you put into your kids. How much of this comes from how you grew up, how your father raised you, and how much has he shown you to make you the man you became today?
Well, like I said, it's a village. You know, my dad, he did a great job. You know, my grandfather did a great job. My stepdad did a great job. You know, I was luckily, you know, around a lot of male figures, a lot of woman figures, you know, and coming from Oakland, coming from Louisiana, you know, with these morals and standards, it was like, hey, you're going to either stand for something or you're going to fall for anything. Yeah. So every day you walk up with your head held high, you know, never let no one disrespect you. You know what I mean? Respect others. You know what I mean? And also, you know, this if you're going to do something, do it correctly. You know what I mean? Pull your pants up when you leave the house. You know, smile, greet people, open doors. You know, those type of things right there is just one step closer to, you know, financial freedom, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Man, that's true. Yeah. I mean, those are good life lessons, you know, you get to learn at a young age. And it's cool because now you get to pour that into your children, you know? Right. And I'm sure, you know, with you on their side, their grandpa, their great-grandfather, you know, with them growing up with all that support, I'm sure they're going to make it pretty big. Man. You know, they're going to do big things, you know?
Yeah, and you know, it's written from God, man. You know, I just pray every day for their health, for, you know, the unknowingness, and, you know, the same with my friends and family. You know, everybody I come in contact with, I pray over, and, you know, it's just one of those things where you have to have blind faith, and you have to know that God is going to protect them when you're not with them. You know.
Live every day with them, you know?
Yeah.
I would say, you know, getting into that, a big thing I learned recently, and this is why I cherish everything I've been doing recently. This is why I've been, like I think a month ago or something, I sent out my family in a family group chat talking about like certain, I seen a certain scripture of the day. I was like sent to them, and getting closer to God is right now. It's very key. It's very loving the people around you, loving your kids, loving your family, loving your friends, like bringing them closer than ever, because you never know what can happen, Yeah. And that's one thing I'm living big in, because I just went to a service not too long ago, and the pastor kind of taught about the fourth quarter. I was confused, like with the fourth quarter. Kind of basketball terms, you got your first quarter, second quarter, whatever. And he was talking about, he's 75. So if humans live to 100, he's technically in his fourth quarter.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And he's talking about like, why am I going to start sinning now? I've already been living the 70, I've been living 3 quarters the best I can. Why am I going to stop in my fourth quarter?
Right.
This is my fourth quarter. And everybody knows in basketball, fourth quarter is your hardest quarter. This is where you, fight, adversity and really, cancel out the fatigueness and really put your hustle in it. And, that's how I've been kind of living. Hearing that from a guy that's older, like, oh, this is my fourth quarter. This is when I really need to dedicate my life. And it kind of hit me like, no, I think every day should be your fourth quarter.
For sure.
And that's how I've been living life now. It's like understanding like next week God forbid, but next week could be my last week. 10 years from now could be my last year. 20 years, hopefully I live to 90, 100, you know what I mean?
Right.
But just understanding is like, you need to cherish everything now. You need to lock in now, being a father figure, you got to take care of everything now, because, you never know what fourth quarter you're living in.
With that being said, man, how was it for you, like you being a father figure, to your son?
I think a big thing I've noticed becoming a father now, and he's 3 years old now. And, it comes with a lot of challenges. Outside, just I don't know. It's very challenging. He tests the patience. Especially having a boy.
Right.
Boys are everywhere. Boys are running around, breaking things, yelling, crying, fighting, just a thing. And one thing is understanding I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes I just got to understand I'm not perfect, but I am doing my best. And one day I pray that he does understand that I did do my best. The same way, becoming a father made me really realize that my father did do his best.
Yeah.
As growing up, sometimes we butt heads. Sometimes, little things did happen. And I used to get really mad sometimes and this and that. And now becoming a dad, I've really understood, like, he did the best he could.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because a lot of the things that, me and him used to be as we're growing up, I'm understanding that I am a lot more like him. And I do, a lot of positive ways. I am a lot like him. Like, some things he used to do, I used to be like, he's overreacting, he's overthinking. And now I'm that way. But I do it, and I talked to a preacher one time about this, and he's like, you overthink and you overcomplicate things because you care. You know what I mean? He was like, you overthink too much of what people think and say because you care. He's like, that's not a bad thing, because I used to think that was a bad thing. So then more made me understand, like, man, my dad was the same way. You know what I mean? And it made me realize he cared a lot. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it really opened up my eyes having a kid, how much I do overthink little things I do, or, if I'm not around or I'm this and that. And it made me really realize, like, he did try his best. I am trying my best. Same way my kid one day will try his best. And just understanding, just try your best you can.
That's it, man.
You know what I mean? Forgiveness too. Like, you got to be able to forgive. I lived with all this stuff inside my head, like, oh, I'm mad, either at my mom or my dad, like, I didn't get to do this, or they keep saying this and that, you know what I mean? And understanding is forgiving, because the same way I'm learning how to raise a kid is the same way they were learning how to raise a kid. I'm over here judging them like if their experience if they raised 50 kids.
Right.
I was their firstborn. I'm the, what they say, the test subject.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just the same way they're learning, the same way I appreciate that I'm learning. And I think that's the one thing is I'm learning how to raise a kid. And, one day I hope that I install as much as knowledge I can into my kid, where hopefully when he has a kid at a, whatever age he does, is hopefully he will learn to do better than me. Because I think that's the goal for every father. They want their kids to do better. and that's why they're hard on them. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like I'm hard on my kid at the age of 3 because I want him to do better. You know?
Yeah, man. You see these little things, you know, and it's like, okay, how can I prevent him from doing what I did?
Yeah.
You know, prevent her. But at the end of the day, man, you know, it's just they're gonna bump their heads. They're gonna touch the stove. It's not a loss. It's a lesson for them. You know.
And I say that all the time. Unless it comes too dangerous.
Right.
Then it's like, hey, come on, kid. I can't let you do that. I might have to smack him in the head real quick. Back up. Don't get hit. Don't touch the. Because my kid did that one time. I caught him last second. This kid grabbed my keys, went to the electrical outlet, and it's like you see that in movies. You never really think it's gonna happen. So I see my kid go and do it. Oh my god!
Oh yeah, it scares you.
Jumped into action. I kind of had him hit him with that little sweep kick. You know, you see like Ninja Turtles, they sweep kick the legs. I felt hecka bad, but at the same time, it's like I'd rather you fall than you kill yourself by the legs. You know what I mean? So sometimes, you know, they got to learn, but sometimes it's like, okay, you're about to screw it bad. I think that's when like becoming a dad comes in handy. It's like, hey, before you really hurt yourself, let me jump in.
Right.
But sometimes you do gotta let them learn, like you said, you know.
Heck yeah, man. So with that being said, man, for this next coming month, you know what I mean? In this year, like, do you feel like goals and plans are necessary, you know what I mean, to keep you motivated and inspired? Like, what are some things that keep you inspired and motivated?
So what I kind of learned, you know, going into your goals, you know, have your goals, but planning daily routines and habits to achieve that. Because I've noticed I can't complete my goals unless I'm doing something on the daily to achieve it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think as of right now, I haven't set no long-term goals.
Okay.
Right now, I'm trying to focus in the present. I think that's where I am right now, where right now I just set daily goals. That is my daily I have an app on my phone called Daily Habits.
Right.
I wrote all my daily habits. My goal is I'm doing a 60-day plan. I'm doing, you know, working out 4 days a week. Off days do cardio, core. Eating better, no fast food for 60 days, no alcohol, no smoking, everything for 60 days. So that's as much as I can handle right now. That's what I'm gonna take care of.
Oh, so you're purging yourself. That's what's up, bro.
So you know, like I know you're asking like what's long-term goals. As of right now,
you don't.
Where I'm at. I mean, maybe by next episode I'll have better goals. But as of right now, I'm just focused on the daily because that's all I can handle right now.
So how often do you want to do the podcast? Like, do you want to do it like, you know, every week, every 2 weeks? Like, what you thinking?
I think every 2 weeks is all. I mean, give 2 weeks of people watching.
Yeah.
I mean, this podcast is hour long. It's gonna take a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen to this in your car. Listen. You know what I do? What helps me get through the gym a lot is I listen to podcasts. You know, I take my mind somewhere else. I listen to podcasts. I listen to a lot of Bryce Crawford. I listen to a lot of George Janko, Impulsa. You know what I mean? Yeah. Fun podcast. You know what I mean? I guess, I mean, you asked me the question, what about you? I'm sure this is something you're thinking about, long-term goals. What's creating that, you know?
Yeah, no, the long-term goal, man, is really just to, you know, get the school going. You know what I mean? And build a legacy of schools and get reputation, you know what I mean? And acts of service and faith, you know? So from there, you know, it's not in my will, it's in God's will. That's what I've realized. And, you know, even this establishment here, you know, everything is acts of faith, you know? So I want to say thank you again for having us, you know? And I hope that you guys learned a lot from this podcast, that, you know, you can look back and reflect and, you know, ask yourself some questions like, okay, what motivates me? How can I be better? Yeah. What's my goals? You know, how can I start a podcast? Yeah. Where do I start? You know what I mean?
I mean, just jumping in and trying it. Right. We've never done this before.
Right.
I mean, you could probably tell we've never done this before because I feel like I was all over the place.
Nah, bro.
But I mean, it's a conversation. I think how I'm treating this is just a conversation.
Yeah.
And when we talk, like when me and you go get, you know, lunch and talk about stuff, I feel like we're always all over the place.
It's meetings.
You know? No. Two grown men can have lunch. We just have meetings. You know, so I mean, I appreciate, you know, you helping me out, you know, making this happen with me.
Bro, it's all good.
I think we can definitely take this far. I think we're gonna get better as we go. You know, we're gonna definitely talk about a lot of good things. You know, shout out Velvetone Studios. You know,
shout out,
hosting us, bringing us here today, setting up this whole setup. without this, wouldn't be possible. So.
And mind your business. It's not like mind your business and it's not your business, but literally, if you have your own business, mind it. Nurture it, and just add flames to it. Make it grow and expand. So, I appreciate you, dog, for having me. And yeah, it's gonna be many more of these. Hope to see y'all soon on the next one, and we're out.
Done.